This is a demonstration of pocketbase-sync, which is essentially a proof of concept for horizontally scaling pocketbase. I've got three folders open: instance 1, instance 2, and instance 3. I'm going to launch instance 1, and I'm going to initialize instance 1 from a backup that has some data in it. This is actually a sample of real-world data from an application that I actually use Pocketbase with. And so now I'm going to, just as a demonstration, I'm going to create a new collection. Instance 1 made this, and we don't really need to customize it too far. Now I'm going to launch instance 2 using a different port. And this one I'm not going to restore from a backup. I'm just going to create as a brand new instance. Okay, so we have no users, normal collections in both. Now if I navigate to the settings page and turn on sync right here, we're going to sync. This is the initial node. We'll call this instance ID alpha, and it's on NATS URL, listening on all interfaces, port 4222. That's the default for NATS Jetstream. So we'll go ahead and start that, and it's ready to go. Now notice there are two new system collections available. Over here in instance 2, we're going to enable sync, and we're going to add it to a sync chain. The remote instance ID is going to be the one that we just set up, which is named alpha, and we'll call this one Bravo, and we need to increment the port because this is running on the same machine. And I'm going to save changes, and now when I reload Pocketbase, I've got all the same records. Everything has copied over, and here's even this new record that I created after initializing both. And so if I create a new record over here, we'll type some text. It shows up over here pretty quickly. Obviously the latency is a little bit higher when it's not on the same machine and it has to go across the internet, but it's event driven rather than polling, so your CPU usage will be pretty insignificant for this whole synchronization operation. We can create a new collection made by Bravo over here. And that is going to be, as soon as I refresh Pocketbase over here, the new collection exists. You pretty much get the idea. They're syncing to each other. And if we want to add a third one, that's also fine. We can point this third one at either of the first two. And I'm going to create it as a brand new instance as well. I'm going to add it to the sync chain. And we'll go ahead and give it instance B, 4223, Bravo, and we'll call this one Charlie, and increment this port once again. And as soon as I save changes, it's going to download a snapshot from this guy and get caught up on all events from both instances. So now I've got all of my records. Instance 1 made this. This was made by Bravo, this guy. And all of our records are synchronized all the way across. So just as one last demonstration, Charlie was here. And on the other two, the record exists. So for something like file uploads, you'll want to use S3 as a backend so that all three instances are pointing at the same file for the backend. There are those two new system collections. PB-sync is tracking who all is in the sync chain and how to talk to them. So that way, when we tell Charlie that Bravo exists, Charlie also finds out that Alpha exists because Bravo is aware of Alpha. PB real-time subscription. Unfortunately, I have not done any testing on this. Again, this is a proof of concept just in the ideation phase. I wouldn't say that this is ready for production. My idea with the real-time subscription, how do you keep three separate instances in sync? So the concept here is that if a real-time connection is made to any of these collections, any record on this instance, it registers that with this database, this collection here, which gets synchronized across to the others. So they'll all be aware of a user that has an active real-time connection over here on instance C. So when a user on instance A or B, Alpha or Bravo, wants to connect to that same resource, that WebSocket is actually routed, instead of to its own instance, it's routed over to the instance that already has a real-time subscription open. And so all users will always be connected to an individual single instance. I know that's a little bit less of a horizontal scale, but I think that that's the best that I was able to come up with for making real-time connections useful on a horizontally scaled application such as this. I would also like to mention that delete operations sync as well as you would expect them to. So made by Bravo, collection is deleted on Charlie, and it is now deleted on Alpha and Bravo. Warning I should issue is that NATS, which is what this is based on, is not encrypted by default, and I did not include encryption. So this endpoint you probably don't want to expose to the internet. I use something like Tailscale or Zero Tier to keep all this behind a firewall but still connected to each other when I'm on separate machines. But that's a quick demo of a proof of concept.